It's often said that time heals all wounds. This adage clearly doesn't apply to every game. Yes, we're looking at you, Concord, but plenty of cult classics age better with time. Whether it's poor review scores upon release or being launched in between heavy hitters, some games just get woefully overlooked. There's also a class of games that remain controversial, or just never got off the ground sales-wise for one reason or another. We'll be taking a look at single-player titles in particular that just couldn't catch a break from players despite their high quality. Join us now as we reminisce over 15 great single-player games players haven't really been kind to. Mass Effect 3. Bring up the topic of video game endings, and Mass Effect 3 will undoubtedly be mentioned. As the grand finale of a trilogy that honored hundreds of player decisions, Mass Effect 3's outro felt incredibly lackluster and underwhelming. Heck, many 10-hour games contain more branching conclusions than Mass Effect 3, but Mass Effect 3 has a heart of gold that can get overlooked. Some of the most memorable highlights in the entire saga take place within the third game. Mordin has perhaps the most heroic moment of the series, and a hefty amount of story threads get a satisfying resolution. For players who were appalled by the simplistic Crayola coloring endings, it really is the journey and not the destination that makes Mass Effect 3 so spectacularly special. Cyberpunk 2077. It's been 5 years since the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077, and the effects are still felt even today. Its reputation as a buggy and under-promised game continues to hang over it, and CD Projekt Red lost much of the goodwill it gained after impressing players with The Witcher 3. Well, hundreds of updates and a phenomenal expansion later, and Cyberpunk 2077 has finally achieved what it set out to do all those years ago. There's no city quite as dense and lively as Night City. It's a treat to just drive Johnny's Porsche 911 from one end of the map to another and engage in high-speed chases and random firefights. But even if the first-person gameplay doesn't grab you, the branching narrative might. Plus, how many games star Keanu Reeves as a main character? Assassin's Creed Shadows. Players have rightfully thrown piles of metaphorical tomatoes to all of the nickel-and-dime live service elements in recent Ubisoft games. Assassin's Creed Shadows continues this irritating trend despite being strictly single-player, earning it a bad rap among some players. There's also the complaint that the formula is largely unchanged since the action-oriented direction started with Assassin's Creed Origins, but Assassin's Creed Shadows does improve at least one central aspect from its predecessor Valhalla, and that's the open-world design. The dynamic seasons are a key aspect of the charm and beauty of the Japanese setting. There's just a ton more variety here than the repetitive snowscapes of Valhalla's setting or an Odyssey's. Every new settlement and forest looks uniquely stunning, helping distinguish Assassin's Creed Shadows within the vast catalog of open-world games. Dark Souls 2. Without a doubt, Dark Souls 2 remains the black sheep of From Software's Souls-like subgenre. Coming off the game that helped ignite the series in the first place was always going to be tough, but man, did Dark Souls 2 really underwhelm players. Many, including myself, admittedly, lamented that From Software had lost their spark with this sequel. Many of the complaints were pegged toward the game's disjointed world design. Lothric lacked the wide interconnected areas that Dark Souls 1 did so well, going in a more linear hub-based direction. Duplicate enemy mobs also tarnished the game in players' minds, but one thing Dark Souls 2 did phenomenally well was its multiplayer. To this very day, the PvP in Dark Souls 2 stands as a highlight of the series and From Software's catalog as a whole. Dark Souls 2 is one of those games whose quality stands out when comparing it to others outside its own series. Days Gone. PlayStation was marketing Days Gone as their big first-party zombie game, the one aside from The Last of Us anyway. The market saturation for zombie games was overflowing when Days Gone released. This led many players to overlook the open-world zombie game for other titles at the time. The game still sold around 7 million copies all told, but it lagged behind other high-budget Sony titles. Players and critics bemoaned about the repetitive mission structure and open-world activities. Still, there's hardly any other zombie experience that matches the sheer fun of mowing through the immense zombie hordes in Days Gone. What's really cool is how unpredictable the AI can be, behaving like an ocean before the player where every encounter feels unique. It's now a much better game thanks to loads of post-launch fixes and has garnered a legion of fans. Dishonored 2. For whatever reason, Arcane Studio games just don't tend to sell tremendously well. In the case of Dishonored 2, the discrepancy between sales and critical adoration was especially wide. Despite being heralded as one of the best stealth games of all time, it just didn't capture a wide audience. Dishonored 2 takes the immersive sim stealth action of the first game and ramps it up tenfold. Players can engage in the world with a low chaos or high chaos approach. Kill enough people and your endings, dialogue, and interactions will change significantly. Of course, being the stealth-oriented game that it is, doing a no-kill ghost run are certainly feasible options as well. The tools the game gives you to achieve either form of chaos is just downright wild at times. Stopping time, possessing rats, and object telekinesis are just a few of the fun abilities at your disposal within Dishonored 2. Mad Max. Unlike Dishonored 2, Mad Max wasn't nominated for Game of the Year, nor met with critical adoration at launch. It didn't get much notice at all actually when it released, contributing to its poor sales overall. I mean, the game released on the same day as Metal Gear Solid 5, so yeah, it's pretty easy to see why it didn't stand out. Years later though, Mad Max would find an ardent cult following thanks to its diverse and interesting world design and fun vehicular combat. Batman Arkham Knight. Back in the mythical time when Rocksteady could do no wrong, anticipation for Arkham Knight was through the roof. The initial trailer set the stage perfectly, and a fully drivable Batmobile around the open city was something players have dreamed about since Arkham Asylum. Like Mad Max, Arkham Knight featured vehicular combat, as well as the free-flowing hand-to-hand combat that Rocksteady was famous for. Though players faulted the Batmobile sections for the clunky controls, which ended enough being a talking point to steer some away from the game's initial hype. Players who loved Arkham Asylum and City will usually tell you today that Knight maintains that quality and then some, providing a narrative richness that delves into Batman's psyche while dishing out twists and turns at every step. Metal Gear Solid 2. It's pretty difficult to imagine now, but back when Metal Gear Solid 2 released, it received a sizable amount of criticism. Utterances of, where the heck is Snake? Why am I playing as this unknown character? Could be read all over the early internet forums and the general gaming discourse. Maybe the second game in the series wasn't the best one to pull off a narrative subversion like Metal Gear Solid 2 did, but it did contribute to a more complex and interesting narrative, so we're not complaining in hindsight. Raiden eerily mirroring Solid Snake's Metal Gear Solid 1 infiltration was the starting breadcrumb that would evolve into a meta tapestry unparalleled in gaming to this very day. Quantum Break. Today, Remedy is the beloved studio behind the award-winning Alan Wake 2. Players wait with bated breath for anything new the studio does. Yet, back in 2016, the hidden gem Quantum Break went under a lot of gamers' radars. Maybe the gaming world just wasn't ready to have a big-budget game with its own live-action show stitched inside of it. Maybe it being exclusive to the underperforming Xbox One had something to do with it. Regardless of all that, its novel concept and surprisingly fun and fluid gameplay have thoroughly wowed those who've actually played it. Watch Dogs. While the first Watch Dogs certainly sold well enough to earn 2 sequels and even a comic book adaptation, players weren't happy with its initial release. Watch Dogs was presented as a truly next-gen spectacle in previews, with graphics that didn't come close to matching the reality. The game didn't look nearly as good as its previews advertised, and the numerous bugs didn't help impressions either. For years, Watch Dogs was the poster child of trailers not matching the full game experience, and players have been wary of promotional material ever since then. Now, after 3 games, many players want a return to the dark and atmospheric setting that set Watch Dogs apart from its sequels. Plus, who can resist hacking traffic lights to cause a 5-car pileup? For its time, Watch Dogs featured the biggest hacking tool bag in gaming, and will always treasure it for that reason. Prey 2017. Many gamers were rightfully excited about the rumors of a reboot of the cult classic 2006 from Human Head Studios. What most weren't expecting was a systems-heavy immersive sim from the Dishonored studio. Whether it was the different reaction and direction or the very late review embargoes, Prey just didn't sell all that well. But Prey is well worth experiencing today. Not only is it one of the most dynamic immersive sims of all time, but the ever-evolving space station makes for some truly unique level design and atmosphere. Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation famously reviewed poorly among certain high-profile critics, but that didn't deter plenty of gamers into skipping such a unique horror experience. Considered today as one of the landmark horror games in the last couple of decades or so, Alien Isolation excels in how it uses tension. Hiding aboard the dark and creepy derelict space station with terrifying aliens stalking you is a surefire way to elicit anxiety. Rather than prioritizing actually fighting the aliens, this game encourages hiding and sneaking around them. There's few games more tense than Alien Isolation, but you wouldn't assume that was the case with reviews at the time. You could say Alien Isolation is a game critics that weren't kind to, with some gamers following suit until it gained the cult following it enjoys now today. Bulletstorm. Back when Gears of War sold Xboxes by the boatloads, lead designer Cliffy B came out with Bulletstorm as his killer app. Despite such a pedigree, their frenetic FPS missed its target with a lot of players. A poor PC port has been cited as a reason for it not turning a profit for Epic, but dude bro marketing and a Gears-like budget also contributed, of course. Today, many gamers may be surprised to feel just how satisfying Bulletstorm is to play. It's much faster paced than Gears and features some truly wild weapons, including one that shoots bouncing cannonballs. Murdered Soul Suspect. This game previously made our list of titles players bought, but never actually played, but there's more to appreciate here than just its attractive price point. It's a murder mystery from the viewpoint of the murdered ghost. The novel concept is followed through in some surprising ways here, turning possession and teleportation into detective tools. The lukewarm reviews and short length prevented the game from gaining any steam, but it enjoys adoration from fans of detective games thanks to its ease of entry and compelling overall concept. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.